All right, Hurricanes fans. So I'm sitting in the movie theater watching Zootopia 2 with my kids and my wife. At the same time, I've got my phone open watching the CFP reveal. And once they get to Miami at number 12, I couldn't hardly even enjoy the movie anymore. I was just pissed off. That's the best word I could think of. Best phrase I could think of was pissed off when I saw we were still number 12. So then the rankings keep presenting themselves and they keep presenting themselves. And then at the end of it, I'm like, okay, that sucks. We're number 12. We're probably out. And then I was like, well, hold up. Why did Alabama pass Notre Dame? How could that be? So, thinking about it a little bit more while also watching this movie and trying to make sure my kids are being well behaved, I'm like, Notre Dame beat Stanford very handily. Like, it wasn't even close. Blew them out from the jump. So I'm like, okay, that happened over here. At the same time, Alabama barely beat an Auburn team that's not even ranked and an Auburn team that didn't even have a head coach. And they barely beat that Auburn team. So I'm like, why would Alabama jump a team that just blew the doors off of somebody? Even if it is poor Stanford, they blew the doors off of them. So how could they switch spots? And it made me do that, start thinking about that Brian Windhorst meme. Like, what just happened? Something just happened here. So it made me think one of two things happened with this switch. Notre Dame and Alabama, that switch, there's a reason for it. And it's one of two things. And I'm going to explain what those two things could be. Number one, the reason why Alabama jumped over Notre Dame, who just blew out a team, even though Alabama was struggling to win a game against an unranked team. The first reason why they would do that is because the committee has already decided no matter what happens in the SEC championship game, Alabama's getting in. That's one reason why that would happen. Because if they stayed at number 10 and they got blown out by Georgia, people are going to look at this and say, y'all got to at least drop them at least one spot. And if they dropped them from 10 to 11, they would be out because the two teams who win the conference championships would jump them and push them to number 13. So that's the first thought. They move them to number 9 just to give them some cushion. So if and when they lose to Georgia, even if they get blown out by Georgia and they have to move them down one spot, they're still safe going from number 9 to number 10. That's one reason. The other reason on why this might be happening is something that could benefit the Hurricanes quite a bit. I cannot, I'm a huge optimist. Anytime there's two teams playing, I believe there's always a chance for each team to actually win that game. When I look at this BYU Texas Tech game, it is almost impossible for me to see a way for BYU to beat them. I watched the first matchup with them. I watched BYU play a few games this season, and they have never looked the part to me, ever. So it's hard for me to imagine BYU actually beating Texas Tech. And I'm thinking the committee is also thinking the same thing. So now they've moved Notre Dame one spot closer to Miami. So now there's just one team in between the two. So when BYU loses, Notre Dame and Miami should actually be right next to each other, which would allow them on the last show to flip those two teams. People are still saying that head-to-head matters. If you look at these rankings, OU is ahead of Alabama. OU beat Alabama. That makes sense. And if you look at that throughout this entire college football playoff rankings, that still holds true all over the place. So it makes you wonder, with Notre Dame and Hurricanes both having the same record, both being like within 1, 2, 3, or 4 spots within all of the four criteria when it comes to their resumes. And they're still saying head to head matters. It makes you wonder if they moved Alabama up ahead of Notre Dame so Notre Dame could be closer to Miami, and there's only one team in between the two. Once that team loses, which is BYU, now they're actually next to each other. And then maybe they'll say, okay, now that they are next to each other, now that they are number 10 and 11, we've got to go ahead and do a flip. We've got to go ahead and make that head-to-head matter now. And then they do a flip right then and there. So it's one of two things. Again, one of two things is the reason why this Alabama and Notre Dame flip happened. And it's not because of what they did on the field. It can't be, because Alabama looked poor. They looked bad. And Notre Dame looked dominant. So it would not make sense for Alabama to jump over Notre Dame based on what happened on the field. I'm going to say it one more time. Like Windhorse said, one of two things is happening here. One, they moved Alabama up, so if they lose to Georgia, they can move down and still be in the playoffs. On the other hand, what could be happening is they wanted to get one of the two teams that was between Notre Dame and Miami out of the way, so they moved Notre Dame up. Now there's one team in between Notre Dame and Miami, and that one team, which is BYU, is nearly destined to lose this Saturday. So then they say once that BYU team loses, they get out, and you've got Notre Dame, Miami right next to each other. Since they're next to each other, you have to compare them. And then you got to do the flip because of the head-to-head. And all the other metrics are right there next to each other. So that's my thoughts on this. I don't care to give false hope on this whole thing because it looks like it might just be finally over for the Hurricanes. But when they asked the committee chair, they're like, can these teams still move? Like, if they don't have any games left, if they're done for the season, can they still move? Can things still happen for them to move? And he was like, yeah. And he was like, well, I guess you're saying Miami still has a chance. And the dude didn't say, no, I'm not saying that. He went ahead and let it ride. So it makes me think there is a possibility. Still, slight possibility, but there is a possibility. My only question with that scenario, because I've gone back and forth in this, is what if BYU and Alabama loses? Because, as I said earlier, if BYU loses, then you have Notre Dame and Miami right next to each other. But if Alabama also loses, does Alabama then become the buffer between Notre Dame and the U? Kind of makes me wonder that as well. So I don't know what to think, y'all. This is a crazy situation. Extremely disappointing. Like I said, I was there watching Zootopia 2, pissed off at a bunch of animals running around talking to each other. I'm just staring at them like because of the Hurricanes news, which is crazy. But anyway, please do like the video. Let me know y'all's comments on this. Do you think one of these scenarios is the reason why this switch happened? If you don't think that one of these two scenarios is the reason, explain to me why you think Alabama ended up jumping over Notre Dame. What would be the actual logical reason for that to happen? Because I can't think of any logical reason why that would happen. So let me know your thoughts on that. Please do like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're going to continue growing this thing one like and one subscription at a time. As always, I appreciate your support, appreciate the view. Take care. God bless. Peace.